Now I want to know, tell me briefly about your character.
Tom has a problem with relationships, I think, based on his father's relationships, where he's been married he's been married 7 times, and because of that, I think he has a real problem with commitment. The longest relationship he has is with his best friend, and she happens to be female, and they met in college. And I think what he loves about her is her honesty. He also became independently wealthy by inventing the coffee collar, which is that little piece of paper that goes around the cup so you don't burn your hand when you have a cup of coffee. So that's what he does. So he's a bit of a playboy. And he learns through the course of the movie that, the love of his life is right there in front of him, and it takes her leaving and coming back with a man she's met in Scotland and to really wake him up.
So how did you prepare for the role? Did you sleep around a lot?
No, I didn't. It was pretty tough because I finished Grey's Anatomy and went right into it. So the preparation was really just rewriting the script and working on the script a lot and just asking questions, because it was kind of an interesting idea to play the maid of honor, but what do you do really? How do you make that active and interesting? So that's what we really worked on. So there wasn't really no preparation, I don't think, because it's not that kind of character. It was just kind of show up and have fun and work on, what kind of movies inspired us that were romantic movies, and try to get some slapstick into it and try to get the tone right for it. And it was like a work in progress all the way through, even during the editing. So it was fun. It was really challenging because we were working 6-day weeks in order to fit it in between season 3 and season 4 of Grey's Anatomy and all of that.
How do you manage time-wise? Isn't it very...
It's a little tough. I mean, I'd worked 2 seasons on Grey's and then did Enchanted and then back to Grey's and then back into this.
I loved Enchanted.
Enchanted is a beautiful movie. It was
I have one of the songs on my iPod.
Oh, which one?
True Love's Kiss.
Yeah.
How does she know?
Oh, look at you, you got a great voice.
No, I don't.
You have a record contract too, now that you're on MTV? You could sing all the interviews.
Yeah, if I make a video...
Do you have the American Idol here? Do you have that?
We do, we have the Swedish
That's like
Idol.
worldwide, isn't it?
Yeah, we have it everywhere. So if I do make a video...
Right.
Will you be in it?
Certainly.
Great. Thank you. So do you like your character in the movie?
Oh yeah, he's fun. It's nice to see how he ends up. I think he becomes a much better man at the end of it. A better man in the sense that he allows his vulnerability to come through. He's not trying to cover it up in the relationships that he's in. I mean, he's pretty honest with the women he's dating. I don't think he's mean to them. He just is very upfront about, okay...
But he has some very peculiar rules.
Right.
I don't do back-to-back.
Back-to-back, which means he won't date somebody he won't go on a date 2 nights in a row, unless it's, of course, it's Sunday night, because Monday's a new week, so you could do Sunday, Monday. That's okay.
Very mature. But what did you do to look so young in the beginning of the movie?
Computer-generated, that's what they did. They go in and they just sort of clean you up. So there's hope that I'm 90. I can go in and I can look like I'm 18.
Because I thought there was something else.
It's photoshopping for the movies now.
I was hoping that there was a product.
There's no product.
No. Nothing like that.
No, just get a computer, visually enhancer. So
the question now is, you sort of like the character.
Right, you don't like the character? I'm sensing you don't like him.
No, I don't really like him, but my question is, that's not the question here. The question is it easier to play a character that's similar to you, is one that you like, or one that's very, very, or one that's basically the complete opposite of yourself?
Well, yeah, it's fun to do something different, certainly. But you have to understand.
What's easiest?
What's easy? I think
playing someone that's just like you.
It depends on the role. I think it depends. I think it's harder to be yourself and to allow yourself to come through. But I think certainly for film, you just want to be relaxed and natural. I mean, there's not a lot of parts. There are some parts that call for character work, and there are little things that you do. But it's all hard and easy. I think the key is just being relaxed and not judging yourself and not worrying about the judgment of others around the camera. That's the hardest thing, is just to allow that to happen and to be private publicly. I didn't answer your question, but I think...
It sounded very smart. I liked it.
No, I wrote it down last night. I was really excited about it. Yeah, I think that's the key, quite honestly. And then this was just, we were trying to figure out... He was too harsh on the first script that I read, and we were just trying to figure out where his problems came from. Was his character flaw. The character flaw is basically the father. That's why the father figure in the scenes that they have together are so critical for the movie. And then the MacGuffin really is the dog, and what the dog represents. And the dog is basically love, because a dog just loves and doesn't care, doesn't want love back, just wants to love. That's what they do. And we kept developing that throughout.
So it sounds like you're actually you were there doing the whole writing process as well.
Yeah, we worked a lot on it, yes. I mean, we had several writers that came in and did the pass, and then they would bring the script along a little bit, and then we came back, and then when we were shooting, we were constantly rewriting it and kind of keeping the essence of what the scene was about. But we found that we had a real problem with overstating certain scenes, so we had to keep cutting it down and finding it. But that's the nature of film or anything, I think, in general. You never stop until you lock the picture, and then, even then, you're not done. I mean, there are a lot of things I'd go back and do as well, but that's the next movie.
In one of the scenes, you were in Scotland, and you were carrying a log.
Right, caber tossing.
Yes.
The evolution of caber tossing, which is basically, in order to get the beams up onto the roof, they would find the strongest men to throw them up on there, and that was sort of the evolution of that.
Was it heavy in real life?
It was like a light, hollowed out tube of plastic.
Oh, okay. So it's just
the acting there was amazing.
Because it looks heavy.
It does look heavy, and it was heavy. I mean, I threw it up and hit myself on the head and practically knocked myself out. But it was big enough to hurt yourself, but not the real one.
So which scene was the most difficult one to shoot?
The scene where I talked to her about, it's the first time where he reveals his feelings to her, and they're trying to work on the vows together. And we shot it 3 different ways, and we never felt we ever got there. So that was the most frustrating, and we were under the gun because the light was setting, and that was our last day in Scotland. So that was the most difficult, because we just never felt we had it. And then the following morning, we looked at the dailies and we discovered that we had it at the very last shot. So it was always frustrating waking up in the morning because you knew you had a lot to work on, and you didn't know if you were going to get through the day. And then by the time you got to the end of the day, you were exhausted but very happy that you had arrived at something. And look, we weren't going to reinvent the wheel, but we wanted to make it an enjoyable ride, and hopefully the chemistry that this couple has together, people will buy into and surrender over into it emotionally and go off and hopefully feel something and laugh at the same time.
It worked.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm proud of it. I think.
So what was it like working with Michelle?
Wonderful. Really easy. She had come in. We had met a lot of people, and the big key everybody was talking about was like find the chemistry with the person, and then we'll worry about everything else after that. And she came in and had a great sense of humor and real easygoing and could just roll with it very quickly. And we just talked for an hour and a half, myself and the director, and then she told us the story about, at her wedding, her best friend was a male who was the maid of honor for her, and that kind of really was it. And then the studio wanted us to do a screen test together, and it just clicked. It was perfect. She was absolutely perfect for it. She's so easygoing, and smart, and very clever, and has a wonderful laugh that's infectious. So we had a good time playing.
Rumor has it that you're actually about to leave Grey's Anatomy.
Where did that rumor start?
Well, it's on the net.
Oh, it is? Well, you can't always believe what's on the net, and certainly believe what's in the blogs. And I try not to read them, because I don't think they necessarily really get the truth of anything. It's just speculation, and they need to fill their blogs with things. I think it would be ridiculous to leave a show that's so successful at this point. I think I have a contract that's, going for another couple of years. The producers are, I think, Shonda Rhimes is a very young writer, and she's evolving as a person and as a writer, and she's gaining her voice, and she's learned a lot, and we've all learned a lot together. And I think as long as we continue to grow, and the show continues to grow, not to say that every show is going to be brilliant, but I think the desire there is to keep it moving forward, and I think I'd be foolish to leave the show prematurely.
So do I. I think
it's a great show. I think there's a lot there. I think the show it needs to be pushed. I think season 3 was a little bit of a disappointment. We lost our way for a bunch of reasons, but with season 4 ending now, like a week ago, I like the direction it's moving in. I think the characters are getting back to what made the show so special at the beginning, and then I think fame is a very difficult thing, and certainly the attention on a hit show is consuming, to say the least, and they build you up, and then they tear you down, and it's in the tearing down process that you have to rise up again and remember what the essence of the experience is and why you do it, and the doing is the joy, not the end result.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Great conversation.
My pleasure.